Hello everyone. In this video, I'd like to talk about baking textures in Substance Painter and also give a quick shout out to my Maya script, which can simplify this process, although it's definitely optional. I'll demonstrate using this model here. Right now, I'm going to bake textures without any special sorting. Many of you might already be familiar with these steps. However, plenty of newcomers may not know this process at all. I'm planning to record videos covering basic topics like retopology and baking, as well as more advanced material setups in Unity and Unreal Engine. Now, our textures have finished baking. As you can see, some parts ended up baked where they're not supposed to be, like straps overlapping each other. These defects appear in multiple places. Let me show you how to avoid that. In Maya, I've already loaded the low poly and high poly versions of this model to prepare them. For convenience, I've grouped objects that share a UV set. There are a few ways to do this. The first and least convenient method is to physically shift the objects that need separate baking. Here's an example, shifting it off to the side the same way I did with the belt. Another option is to name them using low and high. Let me demonstrate. You set one name, for example, belt, and then assign the suffix high to the high poly mesh. Then, to the part that should bake with that belt, you give the exact same name but with the suffix low. And every object that will bake with that high poly belt also gets low. Hopefully that's clear. But this can still be pretty time consuming, so I want to show you my script that speeds it up. If you'd like, you can purchase it from me. Here's the interface. In the counter section, you specify the number where naming begins. This is only really necessary if you use the same suffix for every object, so the script can differentiate them by number. If you paused your work and need to continue from a certain number, this helps. But in most cases, you can leave it alone. Next, there's a polygon threshold that helps the script decide whether something is low poly or high poly. If you have a mid-poly model that should be treated as low poly, increase this number. If your mid-poly is meant to be high poly, decrease it. Usually though, you won't need to adjust this either. Then there's the prefix parameter, which lets you add a prefix to any objects you're naming in case you want them grouped or labeled in a certain way. Again, it's optional, just handy if you like everything neatly organized. Hide object lets you hide objects after they're renamed. Randomize Material Color for high object automatically applies a random color to each high poly mesh for creating ID maps. You can still tweak them manually afterward. The rename button is the script's primary function. The high and low buttons are for finalizing names. For instance, if you're using a low poly model as a high poly for baking, the script might incorrectly give it the low suffix. You can fix that quickly with these buttons. In a moment, I'll show you how it all works. Randomize Color on selection assigns random material colors to the chosen polygons or object, also great for generating ID maps. For example, if I press it here, you'll see different colors appear immediately. Now let's see how the main features of the script work. The object disappears briefly, meaning the script has applied the changes correctly. We have low poly objects labeled low, high poly objects labeled high, and each high poly has a random color. Remember, you can toggle off the color changing or hiding if you don't want it. I need these straps to have a different color for easy painting on the character. So let me fix that. Done. Now let me sort everything from scratch so you can see the full process. Here we go. Everything's set. Notice that some parts of my low poly are baking as high poly, which was intentional. The script labeled them as low, but I want them to be high. I select all the actual high poly parts and hit high, and it's corrected. You can do the same if you need low on some parts. Just hit low. Our character is now fully organized and ready for baking. Of course, you can double check everything or add more specific colors for your ID maps. Next, I select the groups containing high poly meshes, ungroup them, and save as an FBX. For each group of low poly objects, I assign a unique color to separate their materials in Substance Painter. Then select all and save it as low. Back in Substance Painter, I open the low file, and for baking, I select the high file. In the settings, I choose by mesh name, so it'll use the suffixes. In ambient occlusion, I turn on only same mesh name and apply that to all UV sets. I repeat this for curvature and thickness, then bake. Checking our result, no more weird overlaps or baked on defects. Everything looks good. This is a quick method to prepare and bake. Of course, you should still inspect your work carefully, but my script just helps you save time on something that can be pretty mundane. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. As always, stay motivated, get better every day, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's plenty more to come. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.